Hi friends! So we are another week into the pregnancy. We are now 15 weeks pregnant.
Just the size of an avocado.
Baby is the size of an avocado.
Mm.
Everything's going really well. Pregnancy's going really well. I'm fine. Baby seems to be doing fine. So from that perspective, everything is really good. We bought
A Doppler.
a Doppler that came the other day. We did it, the gel came today, so we did the Doppler this afternoon, and baby's heartbeat I think was around 143, and that's on my phone. We record on my phone, so I'll have to do a separate video. It's only about 5 seconds long of baby's heartbeat. I'll post that on a separate video so you guys can see that. So yeah, everything's going really well, nothing really too drastic to report. So I thought I would talk about the appointments that I've had and how they differed from the appointments that I've had with the previous pregnancies, with obviously this pregnancy being during the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
So my first initial booking appointment, which usually you go and meet your midwife, who obviously I've met previously, and you have all of your paperwork filled in and you talk about anything in your family history or in your previous pregnancies. So it's a good, for me, 2-hour appointment to go through all of those things. This time I had to go collect that pack, bring it home, fill it in, drop it back off with somebody else, wait for a phone call in the afternoon, and then talk about everything that was in that paperwork. So it ended up being about an hour phone call, but obviously that was a very different experience. And for a first time mum, obviously you won't have that initial face-to-face contact with your midwife, so that would be very, very strange. Saying that, my first experience of leaving the house since the coronavirus was my first appointment, my first check-in appointment before my scan. So it's where you go, you have your urine dipped, you have your blood pressure checked, you have all your scan forms signed and ready to be sent off. Your midwife does that, and that was a very different experience. The midwife came in, I was sat on a chair in a hallway, and she came in, she had a gown on, face mask on, and this was the first time I'd left the house since the coronavirus, so it was quite a shock to see it. Obviously I knew it was going to happen, but to see it firsthand, it was quite shocking to see. And it makes it very difficult to read people's faces, because obviously you're constantly reading other people's faces and getting feedback from not just their voices but from their expressions. So that was quite
they wear like full-blown masks, don't they?
Yes, so that was quite
strange.
It was, but I found it quite unsettling actually. So that was the first initial sort of first face-to-face contact that I'd had. Then my ultrasound scan was very different. So I had to drive to a hospital I'd never been to before because my local hospital had closed. Had to wait in a car park until I was called in. Then I had to go into a waiting room where obviously all the chairs were very measured apart. I was wearing a mask. Everybody was wearing masks in the hospital. And I went in for my ultrasound scan, and usually they're quite happy to tuck the blue paper into your underwear and trousers and shimmy them down for you if you don't pull them down far enough. And there was no physical contact from that perspective. Everything was, she was very nervous. She was a trainee, the lady that did the ultrasound scan, so she was very nervous. The ultrasound scan was fine. The staff were lovely, very, very accommodating, but obviously again it was quite nerve-wracking because the two ladies in the room who were doing the scan were fully gowned, almost like a splash guard on her face, mask, obviously doing the scan. And because they were trying to use rooms where everybody could keep distance from each other and space everyone out over the whole of the hospital, usually in a scan room you have a television on the wall somewhere so that you can watch the ultrasound scan being done via the computer or the machine they're doing it on. Exactly. But the room I was in looked like an optician's. They had like the letters on the wall that get smaller as they go down. There was no screen, so I couldn't see the baby moving. So she had to talk to me about what she could see, what looked good, if there was any concerns, measurements, things like that. So I caught a very small glimpse, but the screen she was doing it was very small, and there wasn't any sort of like interaction, like moving around. You had to stay still. So the only real visual I got of baby was the pictures at the end of the ultrasound scan. Otherwise it was a verbal.
Pictures. That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But the whole appointment, in comparison to her normally being, it was very interactive. This appointment was just a very verbal appointment. There wasn't any sort of visuals or anything like that. So that was very strange. Again, my next appointment, my 16-week appointment, which should be the week after next, that usually you go in, you see a midwife, you have urine dipped, your blood pressure checked. What else do you do on the 16th? Oh, they usually listen to the baby's heartbeat on the Doppler. This time, I'm having a phone call just to tell me my blood results for my, what did they check for? It was like your iron levels and things like that. And that's the 16-week appointment now. So it's a very different experience, this pregnancy, to previous pregnancies. And it feels, as much as you fully understand and fully appreciate the reasons as to why these things are happening, even for an experienced mother like me, it does feel quite nerve-wracking, and it does feel quite clinical and very cold. It's not the most pleasant of experiences, although you can fully appreciate the reasons as to why these things are happening. So to any first mothers that watch this, or any mothers that have had big gaps in pregnancies or have moved to a new area, who haven't really been able to have that almost sort of physical contact, sort of face-to-face contact with the midwives, they're still smiling behind their masks, they're still approachable. They've not turned into crazy robots or anything like that. It's not because nobody cares. It's because they care. It's because they're keeping us safe, because they're keeping themselves safe. One of the conversations I had with the midwife, I asked them if I should be wearing masks to my appointments. And she said that we don't have to, but they have to, because the masks are to protect the people around them, not necessarily themselves. So I think, just out of courtesy, if you go into an appointment, even if it's just to a midwife appointment and not into a hospital, wear the mask, wear a mask. Just, I don't know whether there's going to be research that comes out and says that wearing masks protect us or, reduce you catching anything. But if they're doing it to protect us, I think the least we can do is do it to protect them. Absolutely. So, after all of this pandemic is over, if you're a first-time mum and you have another pregnancy, this isn't what it is like, and it does feel very clinical. But again, it is just to keep everybody safe. So just hang in there, reach out to people around you, sign up to antenatal groups, talk to other pregnant mums. There's lots of groups on Facebook, because you'll get you'll feel like you're getting that, all, even though it's even more distance because it's through a screen. You'll feel like you're getting that friendly, almost physical. It's not physical, but you're getting that friendly contact from somewhere, and it doesn't feel clinical all the time. So reach out to people around you. Still speak to your midwives and your doctors. But yeah, it is a very strange, even for me, very strange experience this time. But obviously we understand the reason why, and hats off to all of the medical staff out there during this, because without you guys, it would be a very would be a very frightening place. So that is week 15, and we will check up with you this time next week. Bye guys.